Identical twins. What's the most awkward thing that has happened to you because someone thought you were your sibling? In the early 2000s, my parents were at a dinner party, just a casual evening with some friends of friends at someone's house. It was the kind of night where everyone had a few drinks, the conversation meandered from politics to kids to jobs, and then eventually someone brought up family. At some point, my dad casually mentioned that he was a twin. It wasn't some huge revelation. Anyone who'd known him well already knew he had a twin brother, my uncle. But apparently, this particular couple at the dinner, let's call them Greg and Janine, didn't know. The moment the words, "I'm a twin," left my dad's mouth, both Greg and Janine froze. Full body, deer in the headlights kind of stillness. Then they looked at each other in complete shock. Greg finally turned back to my dad and asked, "Was it possible that your twin was at Expo 86? For context, Expo 86 was a massive World's Fair in Vancouver. My parents went, so did my aunt and uncle. They didn't go together, but they all happened to be there during the same week. My uncle looks nearly identical to my dad. Same build, same hairstyle, same walk, even dressed similarly back then. Greg and Janine looked like someone had just dropped a piano on their dinner plates. My dad, a little confused, said, "Yeah, probably. He traveled a lot back then." And then it all came out. Apparently, back in 1986, Greg and Janine had also gone to Expo for a weekend trip. They were walking through one of the pavilions when Janine nudged Greg and whispered, "Isn't that Dave? That's my dad." And sure enough, across the walkway, they saw someone who looked exactly like my dad, except he was holding hands with a woman who wasn't my mom. Not just holding hands. They were close, arm around her waist, laughing, clearly together. According to Janine, it wasn't a moment that could be misinterpreted. They assumed it was an affair. They were completely floored and didn't know what to do. For over a decade, they'd held on to that moment. They debated whether to tell my mom. They even distanced themselves from my parents a little, never quite saying why, just always staying polite but distant. The whole time, they thought they were harboring this massive secret that could destroy a marriage. Then, at this dinner party, years and years later, they found out that my dad has an identical twin. And the woman at Expo? That was my aunt. The man they saw cheating? That was my uncle. The table erupted in laughter once the story was out. My mom was crying from laughing so hard. My dad just shook his head and said, "Well, that explains why you two have always acted like I ran over your dog." Greg and Janine were completely relieved, but also a little embarrassed. My dad forgave them instantly. He thought the whole thing was hilarious. "I always wondered why you guys were so cold at barbecues," he said. Afterward, it became a kind of running joke between the two couples. "Seen any scandalous behavior lately, Greg?" "Only when you're holding your wife's hand, Dave." My parents have been married almost 40 years now. That night at the dinner party still comes up during family holidays. It's one of those stories that gets better every time, partly because it's so absurd, and partly because it says something about how people can carry secrets they don't understand for years, until a single comment changes everything. We still laugh about it. So does my uncle.